Ordinary, Powers Series Book 1, written by Starr Z. Davies, narrated by Nathaniel Asher. 5. Paragon Diagnostics booths consume more than half of the long aisle. So many, in fact, that my contact is specifically marked out among their booths. 3 booths line either side, and each one of them could fit just one of the standard-sized booths within it. I have to pass 5 of them to get to the pulsing dot on my map, and along the way it's impossible to resist my curiosity, pausing at each booth to learn a little more. 4 of the booths are set up basically the same, with a massive silken banner in each color bearing the logo for the power represented. The banners stretch the full length of the booth. First is the psionics section, with its long yellow banner and psionic brain logo, and the recruitment slogan, "Become a Scion of Knowledge, join Paragon's psionic department." The back-to-back PD logo fills the lower half of the banner. Students have crowded around as a Paragon employee stands at each of the 4 tables with 2 students, their hands calmly resting on the yellow cloth-covered high-top pedestal table. One cluster of students watches a candidate on a simulation platform, similar to what they used on us in testing, as she focuses on the sim around her. Objects fly at her, and she easily knocks them aside with her telekinetic power as she hoists massive pieces of equipment and moves them across the sim station. Some of the students cheer her on, but she performs pretty basic telekinetics, even if they are heavy objects. My attention turns across the aisle where the naturalist section spreads out. The setup is much the same, but this banner is naturalist green with their tree logo and the slogan, "The power to affect change begins with nature. Join Paragon's naturalist department." I glance at the tables, with 3 students crowded around each of the 4 green cloth-covered high tops with an employee of Paragon. The crowd around the simulation platform is so thick on this side that I have to stand on my toes to see who is using it. As I bounce up for a better view, the crowd collectively releases a gasp of awe, followed by thunderous applause. Jimmy the idiot stands on the simulation platform in front of a sim table containing vials of various liquids. Some are clear, others milky or blue or green. One of the stands includes a host of empty vials with traces of what appears to be blood. Jimmy chews his lower lip as he leans closer to something on the table. I can't quite see through the crowd. A moment later, the applause sounds again, and Jimmy beams in that arrogant way he has mastered, raising his arms victoriously above his head as the simulation disappears. Disgusted by Jimmy's antics, I move on. These people are all sheep, too stupid to understand that knowledge is more potent than powers. The Divinic booth is much the same, but in blue colors with the slogan, "Without divine power, we are but heathens," followed by the same recruitment line. At one of the tables, Forrest talks to a couple of recruits. Their conversation is lost in the cacophony of cheers as students watch the sim tests. A boy on the Divinic simulation platform reads the history of items by touching them and predicting their potential future. I would guess that his caste scale rank is around the 40th percentile based on the accuracy of his predictions, marked on a display where he can't see them. I turn to the somatic booth in its bold, bright red to find another crowd gathered. It's hard to see what's going on over the other heads, but I recognize the movement of silky black hair on the simulation platform. Bianca. Hopeful to see more, I nudge my way through the crowd, but most of the students crowded around are also somatics, which means their bodies are broader and more muscular than mine by far. It makes me look like a twig among branches. Still, I manage to nudge forward just enough to see flashes of her movement between heads. A simulated instructor shows moves in quick fluid motions, and Bianca has no trouble keeping up. Her muscle memory allows her to watch actions, register how each muscle acts during those moves, then mimic them perfectly. I've never watched her copy so fast before. The simulation finishes, and a holographic graph of her results appears in the air above the simulation platform. Speed 92, accuracy 89, power 75, balance 81. I can't see her face from here, but those results send a bolt of awe through me. Her rank is in the 60s, and she just scored an 84. How is that even possible? The Paragon employee running the simulation directs Bianca to one of the tables, and the next student steps on the platform. I glance up at the slogan, "The mind cannot exist without the body. Join Paragon's somatic division." Excitement pumps through my veins as I approach the next Paragon booth. Unlike the others, this booth represents all 4 of the branches of power. A holographic recording plays on repeat, touting the importance of the research at Paragon and how it wouldn't be possible without the bravery and selflessness of the medical test subjects who volunteer their time to the betterment of mankind. A soothing pre-recorded voice beckons me as I approach the booth. Why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? A simple table covered in light blue cloth and a stack of fanned-out brochures stands to the corner of the booth near me. I grab one of the brochures as the Paragon employees talk to a few other students. Before reading it, I consult my map. A lump of saliva forms in my throat. This is where I'm supposed to be, helping with research, just like I always wanted. But when did they expand out into a 5th division, and what does it do? Excited, I glance up the aisle at the other booths crowded by students. Unlike this one, eagerness makes my limbs heavy. Just go and talk to them. But what if it's a mistake? 3 matches are far more than I ever could have hoped for. What if this one was a glitch in the system? And why are there so few students at this booth? "Ugene Powers," says a young man in a red collared shirt embroidered on the left side of his chest with the PD logo. Yes? He thrusts out a hand, a broad smile on his face. "I'm Devin, and I'm so thrilled to meet you." I take his hand, getting a waft of sarsaparilla from his clothes as we shake. The smell reminds me of home. His handshake is firm. "Me? Of course! Your name is at the top of our list." He taps his tablet and shows me the list, and sure enough, there is my name right at the top, along with my abysmal rank. I only have a few seconds to scan the names beneath mine, more interested in their ranks. All of them are low. Mo's name catches my interest, but Devin pulls the tablet back to his side before I can see anything more. "So, what is it about me that interests you?" I ask. "Your potential," Devin says. His pleasant demeanor doesn't slip once. "Our research is the fuel for the future of everyone with powers, and you have the potential to help us find the answers." "What exactly do you do?" "Genetic and non-genetic linking mechanism differential anomalies for the creation of non-regressive solutions." Devin shifts to a casual stance, leaning on the high-top table beside him with an elbow. "Oh, that's a lot to take in. Sorry." "No, I get it. At least, I think I do." Devin's brows arch in surprise. "Cool. So all our subjects receive a generous compensation package and benefits. You won't have to worry about anything for the rest of your life." Subjects. The word strikes against my chest. They don't want me to do research. Idiot. Of course not. All the excitement and hope that bubbled up from the moment I saw the name of the company on my list bursts in one shot. My shoulders slump, and the weight of Harvey's words press heavier on my back. Devin continues his sales pitch, but my mind is already elsewhere. I look up at the holographic slogan, surprised that the edges of my vision blur. Why be ordinary? It's all I ever wanted, to be ordinary, to have a power, to belong. Why be ordinary? Because only those who've never been could possibly understand how wonderful it really is. "So, what do you think?" Devin asks, clearly excited, assuming I'm interested. "We can get you started right away." "Ugene." Mr. Springer appears beside me, eyeing Devin suspiciously. "A moment." "I'm sort of busy." Is this a good idea? Should I really offer myself as a test subject? Devin smiles so warmly that I want to stay. It can't be bad, right? Someone has to do it, and I don't have much else to offer the world. Maybe this is how I make a difference. "We will only be a few minutes," Devin says. "It really can't wait, Ugene," Mr. Springer says, taking my upper arm and encouraging me gently to come with him. "It's urgent." Helpless and confused, I flounder over words and let Mr. Springer guide me away from the booth, stammering apologies to Devin. He just offered me a hard sell with the potential to be set for life. I can't decide if this is a good thing or not, and Mr. Springer isn't really giving me a chance to think it through. We pass the last Paragon Diagnostics booth, featuring displays, testers, and equipment on the cutting edge of what they have to offer. "What's going on?" I ask as I'm dragged along with him. The only response he offers me is, "Just trust me." We pass booths for churches, palm readers, medical facilities, grief counselors. The best of divinic powers are out on display for everyone to peruse. Mr. Springer enters the main aisle running through the center of the massive hall and lets go of my arm, but doesn't let me slow the pace. We rush past aisle after aisle of psionic businesses offering employment in sales, counseling, social services, detective agencies. Finally, we break free from the booths in the food court, surrounded by tables occupied by students gossiping excitedly amongst each other, and teachers looking bored. Fresh pizza smells waft up my nose and make my mouth water. "Where's the fire?" I ask, dropping into one of the plastic naturalist-made chairs. My stomach growls. Mr. Springer glances around, then pulls up a chair closer to me and leans in. The urgency in his posture makes me nervous. "You can't go there, Ugene." "Where?" "Paragon." I open my mouth to ask why, but the ferocity of that look in his dark eyes freezes any further protest in my throat. Tension seeps into my shoulders, and I sit up straighter. Mr. Springer glances around, then gives me a level gaze. "Go home." "I can't yet. I still need—" "Ugene, I'm not asking." "What's this?" He takes the brochure and grimaces as he gazes at the front, then tosses it on the table. I stare at the discarded brochure, brows pulling together. "What's going on?" "It's complicated, but I need you to trust me. Have I ever steered you wrong before?" He pauses to wait for my head shake. I oblige. "Then go home. I'll tell them you got sick. Paragon wants you, Ugene." "Good. I want to go to Paragon." "No, it—" Mr. Springer growls low and runs a hand through his chestnut hair, graying at the temples. "I can't tell you more here." The cryptic way he's acting, the hard sales pitch Devin threw at me about non-regressive solutions, the way the garbage men looked at me with so much disgust and called me powerless. Something strikes me as wrong about all of this, and Mr. Springer has answers. Curious if my hunch is correct, I pull out the flyer in my pocket, smoothing it out on the tabletop. "Does it have anything to do with this?" He snatches the flyer before I can let go, crumbling it again and tossing it aside. "Yes." After a glance toward the booths, Mr. Springer shoots to his feet and yanks me to mine, then nudges me toward the exit. "This isn't what your parents want. Stay away from Paragon. Go home." I stumble a step, confused. Questions tumble through my head in a jumbled mess as I start toward the exit. How does he know what my parents want? As I reach the door, I look back in time to see Devin approaching Mr. Springer, who moved back toward the booths. At Devin's side, a handful of broad-shouldered men and women in black, form-fitting Paragon security uniforms stand alert, their hands on their utility belts. No weapons would be allowed in here, would they? Their stance certainly appears menacing. Security. Who did Mr. Springer tick off to bring security out? The guards scan the room with their eyes. What are they looking for? Mr. Springer's urgency has my stomach in knots. It couldn't be me, could it? Devin knew my face. I'm at the top of their list. But would they really come for me like this? It doesn't make sense. Fear grips my chest, and I dart between two groups of students standing in the food court. The din of conversation and the scent of pizza and boiled meats overwhelm my senses, making me dizzy. What am I so afraid of? When I reach the door, the cool tablet presses into my sweaty palm, reminding me of its presence. Afraid it may be able to track me, unsure what exactly it is I'm so scared of, or why Paragon would search for me with security, I drop it on a nearby ledge like it bit me and slip out. Everything has turned upside down, and there's only one place I can go to clear my thoughts: my lab. 6. The noise of the city is too much. The encounter at career day is too much. Together, they make my heartbeat hasten. My own mind is at war with itself. One part wants to rush home and hide, and the other part wants to find out exactly what just happened. As I slink away from the convention center, it's impossible to shake the feeling that someone is following me. Every time I glance back, all I can see are the crowded city streets. Downtown Elpis is compressed. Buildings butt up against each other, narrow and tall. Various shops, cafes, diners, pawn shops, music stores, specialty stores, occupy the first level of each building. Awnings loom over doorways and sidewalk cafes. Traffic is particularly heavy along the narrow street. Anyone who wanted to follow me would have any number of places to hide whenever I look back. I head away from the gleaming spires of big business towering over the cramped buildings, stretching their necks proudly toward the clouds. Years ago, a great war between humans with and without powers began. Non-powered feared those with them. During the Purge, when non-powered people attempted to exterminate those with powers, a young man we now call Atmos lost control of his power. He created the perfect storm to trigger the apocalypse. Only a few thousand people with powers survived the fallout. Elpis began rebuilding the ruined city. It once spread across miles of land around several lakes, with the downtown as a hub for businesses and the university. Now, downtown is the hub of life as we know it, with Paragon Tower in the center of it all, where the main campus of the university used to be. Sunlight reflects on the glass walls, making them sparkle in the early evening light. It's several blocks away, but the height of the monolith makes it feel too close. Glancing back again, I cross the street to where a florist tends her plants with delicate touches. Each time her fingers brush a flower, it perks up, standing straighter and renewed as if it had just bloomed. The scent of roses, orchids, and lilies mingle pleasantly as I pass. The myriad of colors is breathtaking, and for just a moment, I just watch her work until something else catches my attention, a movement from the corner of my eyes. Startled, I turn quickly, only to be greeted by a holographic news display. Proposition 8.5 isn't the end of our basic human rights, the hologram of a pleasant-looking woman says. Her calm demeanor is almost contagious. It's the final step toward the end of regression and the dawn of hope for us all. Together, we can step into the future stronger. Holographic news displays like this one are on every other corner, showcasing propaganda about city improvements, faith in the directorate, and anything else the directorate wants to brainwash us with. I stand in front of this one waiting for the holographic woman to expand on this, but instead, she changes to the improvements underway downtown and increased security along the borders of Elpis. I turn away and stuff my hands into my pockets. The wail of a siren makes my back stiffen, and I step behind a post as a police vehicle whizzes past. I'm being ridiculous. Why am I hiding, afraid of some sirens? Why am I fearful in the first place? Because of Mr. Springer's cryptic behavior and a few security guards? It's irrational, and I know it, but I can't help the tension in my shoulders and stiffness in each step. I stop on a busy corner, waiting for the light to change so I can cross, and debate which direction to go from here. West, toward home, or east. In all my life living in Elpis, not once have I visited the east boroughs, Pax and Clement. My parents never visited anyone on that side of the city. Sometimes I wonder what it's like on the east side. It's where the lower-ranked citizens lived, and I've heard my dad complain about the high crime rate in Pax and Clement. It gives the Department of Military Affairs quite a hard time. I suppose I'll find out about life on the East Side soon enough. I won't be able to afford living anywhere else. There's another couple of hours or so until the sun starts to set. It won't be safe for me then, so taking a trip east isn't advisable today. Not if any somatic thugs are out wandering with their telepathic buddies, looking for someone weak enough to mug. A good psionic telepath will read me like a book, know I'm an easy target for mugging, and sick their somatic friends on me. It's a lesson I learned all too quickly in school. Feeling eyes on me, I glance over my shoulder, afraid of seeing Paragon security. A skinny guy with narrow eyes and dirty clothes is watching me from a gap between buildings. Psionic. Most likely a telepath. Now that he knows I've spotted him, he will either move in or abort. I turn the corner, hoping for the latter. As a distraction, I pat down my pockets and remind myself that they are shamefully empty. The sound of their steps, heavy against the ground from one and light from the other, continues to follow me toward the metro entrance. I can't believe they're gonna mug me, I think. What are they gonna take? My shirt? As I stare down the stairs into the cool but crowded underground metro station, the sound of their footsteps disappears in the hum of the metro crowd. I glance back, thinking maybe the din of the crowd has masked the sound, but they're gone. A sigh pushes out of my lungs, and I fumble in my pocket for the metro card. Home. This is the moment of truth. Going inside means facing my dad. More than once he reminded me that this day was critical to my future. I had to wrangle job prospects, or I would become a basement-dwelling weight. Slowly, I grip the handle with a sweaty hand and press the other against the edge of the door to soften the sound. I slip in as quietly as I can and ease the door shut. I pause inside the door. The stairs to my lab are just on the other side of the room, and I know the floorboards like a maestro knows a piano. My pulse beats against my eardrums. I peek around the doorway into the living room. Dad is on the sofa, pulling a needle out of his arm. What is he doing? Curiosity gets the better of me, and I step into the living room. "What's that?" I ask. Dad jumps, pushing the needle down and out of sight. Too late, though. "What's that?" I ask again, nodding toward whatever he is hiding on the sofa cushion. "You're home early," he says. "I assume that means you blew it today." His eyes are hard. A lump forms in my throat. I only had 3 prospects because I have no skills to qualify me. Oh, give me a break. The words are like a gut punch. I tried, Dad. I really did. The first guy said he couldn't because it would hurt his business. The second didn't even want to consider me. "I can't do this anymore," Dad says, like he's talking to one of his military lackeys. I flinch. You had so much promise. Used to have. And now, I'm good for little more than a test subject, and worth even less to him. All the anger I've held inside for the past 2 years erupts. Do you have any idea what it's like being me, Dad? Have you ever bothered to think past your ignorant perception of the world? His eyes flash dangerously. Excuse me. Other kids use me for target practice. My blood is boiling, heart pounding, pulse racing. I've been tortured every day at school since I was 13. We all got problems. That's no excuse for being lazy. Lazy? Some part of me knows I'm going too far, but my anger propels me forward. I can't stop raging. The words pour out, molten hot. I'm not lazy, Dad. I'm just not qualified. And now, because of this new proposition, I can't even get hired as a busboy or garbage hauler. For a moment, he hesitates, but it passes so quickly I may have imagined it. He continues glaring, my words like gnats buzzing around him. I raise my hands in defeat. His face turns red beneath his darker skin. The heat of our argument dims the sound of chimes of the in-home special alerts, used to automatically keep everyone updated on critical changes. But I push on, unable to stop myself. But you're right. As always, Dad, you're right. I'm worthless. And I enjoy being that way. I love the fact that girls won't look at me because I have no prospects. I love the fact that I disgust you and everyone else because I have no powers. It's exactly what I wanted out of life. Don't you dare talk to me like that. Or what? I hiss. What can you possibly do to me that's worse than what you already said or what I've already been through? Dad grits his teeth and clenches his fists. The veins in his arms pop out like they do when he's pulsing with his enhanced strength ability. His military training should scare me. He could take me down in a second. But the anger burning through me creates a feeling of invincibility. Stop, Mom calls, rushing into the living room and staring at the holo TV. Dad gives me one last glare before turning his attention to the TV as well. I cross my arms and join them, standing on the other side of the living room with Dad. On TV, Dr. Joyce Cass, CEO of Paragon Diagnostics, sits upright and pristine in a white chair. Across from her is Elpida Theus, the top reporter in Elpis. Dr. Cass's blue dress suit stands out against her pale white skin and cropped blonde hair. We are facing dangerous times, Dr. Cass says calmly, long, pale fingers folded delicately in her lap. Nearly 29% of the population live with powers at lower than 30% of what we know as the median for maximum potential. And that's a 58% increase over the last 5 years. If this trend continues, we face 45% of the population on testing day having a significant decrease below the citywide average in the next 5 years. And in as little as 20 years, we could face a complete regression from powers. The foundation of our society is built on our ability to use these powers to survive, which begs the question, what will we do if this regression completes? Life as we know it faces total collapse. The world beyond Elpis will not be habitable in time, and our powers are the only reason we still survive. That is why I and my fellow board members at Paragon Diagnostics fully support the Directorate's proposition to institute mandatory retesting on any who show signs of regression. It could help us pave the path to a brighter future. Mandatory retesting. So, this is what Proposition 8.5 is about, forcing people with weaker powers to undergo further testing. The tests are already so brutal. I passed mine by thinking outside the box, but not well enough to show any sign of powers. And what will these tests mean? My arms drop to my sides. This was recorded earlier today and edited, Mom says. How can you tell? Dad asks, sinking down onto the sofa, shifting the black bag beside him. Look at the background. It's later than that. I squint at the image and see what she's talking about. The windows of the building are tinted to protect from too much sunlight, but it's clear the sun was higher in the sky. But what does that mean to us? Does this mean I have to test again? I ask, unable to shake the chill gripping my spine. Mom says, no. At the same time, Dad says, yes. Before I can ask further, a pounding on the front door silences all three of us. Dad moves to the window, pulling back the heavy drapes to peek out. He looks at Mom and shakes his head. Okay. Mom reaches over and takes my hand. Ugene, go to your room. Her hand trembles in mine. What's going on? Go. Don't come out until I call you. But, go, Dad says. The dangerous edge to his voice matches the look in his eyes. What is going on? I've never seen my parents so unsettled.
If you enjoyed this sample, click the links in the description to hear more. Do you want free audiobooks, ebooks, or autographed paperbacks? Join me on Patreon at patreon.com/szdavies_character-assassin. You'll gain access to my Discord server, behind-the-scenes updates, merch, and so much more.